disturbing. Creative rhymes, I was positive surgeon. Cosmic folks, the emergence. Brain of eternal, hands on my time. Impossible prince, can God watch you step in the mind. Soul triggers, power, holy, divine righteousness. Combined with courage, love of essence. Don't let trauma bind and block your blessings. When you behind the veil, you hear the confession. Give you limitation, corruption, fear, deception. This the age of knowing, evolution, and resurrection. Welcome back to another episode of Talk That Crap. Tonight's guest we have with us Miss Tanya Jones. She's going to take us through a nice historical family tree culture experience. So again, Tanya, let them know a little bit about yourself and what it is you bring to the table.
Well, hello, Impossible. Hello to all of you out there talking with Talk Crap. And I'm here to talk crap tonight.
Yeah.
Jones, and I'm super grateful to be here. And I thank you for inviting me to your show. And I thank you for letting me try to share some of my knowledge, with you. Again, my name is Tanya Jones, and I have a company called All Health Mobile Lab. And my company is about empowering individuals and companies with services that promote health, compliance, and legal assurance. And it is a DNA and a DOT company. So, if you need any assistance in DNA testing, just contact me at allhealthmobilelab.com. And allhealthmobilelab.com. You can find me there.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, if the world don't know, this is my fabulous cousin. So this is Miss Tanya Jones, and so it's been an honor and a pleasure to have her on this platform with us tonight. So I thank her for giving up a little bit of her time today to share the wisdom and knowledge that she already possesses. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. So the first thing I want to get into is something simple where a lot of people don't really, they hear about it, we talk about it, but they may not really understand it. And I want to talk about family tree lineage. What does it mean to understand your family tree? How does that impact you as an individual? How can people find out about information about their family tree? So with that question being asked, Tanya, get into your bag.
It's all about genetic origin, who we are. It's not always so much, who's your mother, who's your father, your nucleus, in your family. Sometimes you just want to know where you came from. And for me, it started close to 20 years ago. I went to a family reunion, and it was something simple as 3 pages, 3 simple pieces of paper. And it had a woman's name on it named Elvira and her 4 children, Grace, Hampton, Rina, and Rosina. And it stated who they married and their children. And I said, who knows this? How do you know all these different people? And for me, it was that light bulb. And it took me about 2 years to officially go ahead and do census records and check them out. But I officially went there to do census records, and I connected with all these people who I had never heard about. And that just did it for me. That put me on a path. And when I started doing my research, my family comes from South Carolina, Williamsburg County, in a small town called Hemingway. Williamsburg County is nestled in between Myrtle Beach, Horry County, and say Georgetown and Florence. And, I went down there to do a little research, a little digging, and I wanted to find out about my family. And I realized after maybe 2-3 weeks, everybody's related to one another. So it went a little bit further than that. I said, well, it got to be more than this little town. Who is Williamsburg County? Who are these people? And I dug in, and I did more research, and I started digging into who Williamsburg County was and who are these people. And then I went all the way back to the Civil War, and I went all into Reconstruction. And after the Civil War, we realized it was a black border county. So that meant that all of these former enslaved or aborigines, because everyone who was enslaved or was not always, Africans, they could have been, aborigines, Indians, but all these people who are now free are now running the entire county of Williamsburg County. And I said, wow, my people literally was here and watching these people who they brought out from these fields are now running this entire county. Stephen A. Swells and all these people are running from state senate to your local supervisor, schools, and they're opening schools. They're running the entire county, and I was like amazed.
Mm.
I wanted to see how I can connect our family to that. So
Hmm.
I continued to research the county, but I still never knew exactly who my family was. I just knew who I knew in the community, but I couldn't connect because I was always told it's a brick wall. Once you get to 1870, you can't find anyone. All these negative stories. But spiritually, the universe just talked to me one day, and I'll never forget it. And something said, and I say something, but I know it was God who said, "Why don't you go on down to South Carolina and do some research again?" And I was living in North Carolina at the time. And I went to visit my grandmother. And I said, "Well, grandmother, I'm going to go and do my research." She said, "Okay." And I went to King Street, South Carolina. That is the county seat. And I went to do some research. When I got to the courthouse, I realized it was closed. They were doing renovations. And when they did those renovations, I said, "So where's all the documents?" They go, "Oh, they're in the local in the local bank in a vault. But if you go to this building across the street, they're going to have a couple of deed books, because the attorneys have to do the work, the paralegals." So I went to this building and I walked into this room. And like anything, when you go into a room, you stop, you kind of look around to see, which way do I go? Instantaneously, now you don't got to believe me. The
Hmm.
spirit said, "Go get that book." So I looked over to my right. It was a desk. It was like a little hutch. You have a desk and like a little hutch to the top. And it had three books leaning over. And I looked to my right. I looked at those books. And I turned my head and I moved away and I just fumbled around to see, what's in here. Where do I go? Moments later, the spirit said, "Go get that book." I cast my eyes over and I looked, paid it no attention, and I kept doing what I was doing. And it's like a real parent. "Go get that book." And I
Hmm.
stomped like, "Let me go get this book." And I just randomly, and I say randomly because there's no such thing as random. When the spirit is in the room, in the room, he's going to guide you to where you need to go. And I did. I got this book and I opened it up
Yeah.
and on the spine of the book it said 1806. I said, "What do I do in
Oh.
1806? I only know like my grandmother, my grandfather, and maybe a great grandmother." So I opened this book, and I'm going to say random, but we all know it's not random. And I opened it up,
Right.
and I realized it was all of bill of sales. I said, "Wow, this is
Mm.
amazing. This is amazing. Here are these people, they enslaved these people, and they gave them a number. And I wish I could connect like these to these people." So something told me to stop, and it said McConnell, Book D. I said, "I don't know any McConnells, and I definitely don't know any black
Mm.
McConnells." So I got Book D, and I opened it up, and I looked through it. Now I know without a shadow of a doubt it was like page 500, and I got the book and I opened the page 500. I don't know. I was just compelled to go look up these people McConnell. Now if I go back today and I've looked in that book a million times, I can't find that page. I can't find that page. It said March McConnell, um, something McConnell, and they gave a price next to them. And something kept saying, "Tanya, take a picture of it." I never took a picture of it. I'm writing
Mm.
instantaneously, I started turning the pages with my left hand. And I said to myself, why are you turning the page with your left hand when you're right handed? I don't know.
Mm.
Spirit is moving me. I don't know this at this time. And I stop at page 215. Now that I know. Now, I just said to you in previously, I am in the county of Williamsburg County. So when you're in the county of
Correct.
Williamsburg County, all your documents are going to say Williamsburg County. Now, mind you, as I stated, I had already done some research, talking to the elders. It was alleged that the family was brought from Barnwell, South Carolina, but there was no proof.
Mm.
Spirit had led me to this building at this appointed time, to this room, to this book, and to this page. And I looked down and it said, the county of Barnwell County, state of South Carolina, Barnwell County. And I said, why would a Barnwell County document be in Williamsburg County? I can't make this up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Rolled my eyes down and it said, a Negro woman, Elvira. I pushed back. I said, Lord, don't play
What?
with me. I've been doing this
Take the
too long.
wheel.
I lightly started to shake. You don't got to believe
Yeah.
me. I put my hands down and I just kind of scrolled across. Now we are 2025 next year. We'll be celebrating 35 years of Mother Elvira family reunion. I read a
Mm.
Negro woman, Elvira, and her four children, Grace,
Mm.
Hampton, Rina, and Rosina.
Come on.
It was a price of $5. We were only worth
Eh.
$1. The document that I had received, that the good Lord, the Spirit, the Creator showed me, was a marriage settlement. It was a marriage settlement between two individuals, Mary Brisbrain Hecht, or sometime Hicks, depending how you pronounce it. It's spelled Hext. Mary
Mm.
Brisbrain Hecht of Barnwell, South Carolina, and her husband, John Thomas McConnell of Neesmith, South Carolina. So
Mm-hmm.
Mary married John, and as a wedding gift, our family was it. Mother Elvira and her four children. Mary's father was named L.P. Lawrence Porche Hecht. He was a planter in Barnwell County, and he gave as a wedding gift, like a dowry, um, to um, her husband, our family, Mother Elvira, again, who I said we are having the 35th anniversary of next year. And we were given as a wedding gift $1 a head.
Mm.
And I was just
Wow.
in shock. But that was how
Wow.
the Spirit led me to connect to what I already had kind of known from family talking and doing my research.
Right.
So now that I had gotten this information, now I could follow all the way back. And I was
Mm-hmm.
able to go back even more. I was able to go back and find that Elvira's mother had she had a mother. I was able to create a small website, and it was really just for myself and just for like our family. But it is open to the World Wide Web. But I didn't think anyone was really
Right.
looking
Right.
at
Right.
it.
Right.
And the South Carolinian Library of in Columbia, um, University of South Carolina contacted me. The Carolinian Library. They were in receipt of
Mm-hmm.
1,500 letters from the Hex family and the best. It was letters from 1840s all the way up into the early 1900s. So Mary and her siblings
Mm.
and her aunts will all write to each other. So they kept those letters. So in those letters, Mother Elvira was written about 10 different times. So now
Mm.
I'm able to not just trace it, but I can hear her story. I can tell Mother Elvira's story. I know that she ran away. I know it said, quote unquote, she got beat for impertinence, not because she ran away and came back. It said in the letter she had a sassy mouth. She had impertinence. I said, oh,
That's
I
that.
think
That's
I
that
got
warrior spirit. Yeah.
So I was able to see that, so again, so in February 26, 1856, the eldest daughter, Grace, she was taken and brought to Neesmith, and 2 years later, Mother Elvira and the other children came behind her. So Grace was the first to come to Neesmith, and she lived in Neesmith at Oak Hill Plantation and so forth. But I'm not going to go into the whole entire story because I don't want to be mundane.
Right,
But
right,
I
right, right,
wanted
right,
to
right.
share
Got
with
you.
you that, you know, follow your first mind because that's always the creator speaking to you. And again, I was just
Mm,
asking questions. I just wanted to find out about family reunions or family history. And I didn't know that the spirit would just lead me. So I know those, we're all given angels, from the time that we're born. And, our ancestors are here and they tapped me on the shoulders and they guided me, and they took me
hmm
to that book.
hmm
There's just no way you could find stuff or turn to a page for no reason. And that didn't happen once or twice. It happened multiple times. So I know my angels are with me, at all times. And I speak to them and I thank them. And but that was a great story. But everyone doesn't have that story. So again, I would tell anyone, start with yourself. Talk to your ancestors. You look at the U.S. Census. Go to the library. Look at militia records. Look at Freedmen Bureau records. Go to Ancestry. It's so many things you can do, and just start with yourself and just follow down. They have Family Search, they have free services. There are a lot of things you can do. You can always call me. Although I did talk about my company, All Health Mobile Lab. Actually, I've been on this journey for 20 years, but my company is really our
Fact.
Mahasi heritage, and that will go live in August. So that is going to be a
Hello.
digital
Yeah.
um, cultural center
hmm
museum, and it's all about Williamsburg County, all our history from plantation records,
Yeah.
connecting not
Yeah.
just plantation records, but I'm able to connect. I got the plug.
hmm
I really did the
hmm
research. I'm,
hmm
I'm that person who can find a will and then look at those names, go back to 1870 and literally go name by name by name. People are not going to do that. I'm that girl who'll sit
mm.
around 2 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, whenever I feel like it. I'm looking at newspapers and I'm reading from 1856 or
Yeah.
1830.
Yeah.
I'll have a
Mm.
book and I'll just be a wordsmith and I'll just type stuff in and see what pops up.
Mm.
That's what I do, because I
Man.
don't want to just hear from just elders. I take it with a grain of salt, but I like to do the
hmm
research. I look
Yes.
at plenty of
Yes.
books, but I love manuscripts. I love firsthand.
hmm
I want to hear what the quote unquote explorers saw and what they did. That's what I want to
hmm
read. I want to know about those things. And that's what I think. When I don't say I think, I know that made me successful. I know that worked for me. And plus of course the our God. He wanted me to know. Our ancestors, my angels, they wanted me to know. I mean, people have been doing this for years, and and I'm not being cocky, but they haven't touched it. They have the people contact me. The the Carolina University of South Carolina contacted me. People have gone there, but if nobody would, if God would have shown me that document on page 215, you, I wouldn't be able here to tell you that
Wow.
story. Nobody can't tell that story. They only can tell it
And,
because I'm
and
putting it on live, but they can't tell that story. And that's the message.
and and I want to say thank you so much because as family, the first time you really broke down that whole story for me, it blew my mind, and it led me to dig into some things of my own. But the things that you really understand that can bring back that information and platform, and to actually have Columbia right here where I stay at, where I
Yeah,
reside, right here in South
yeah.
Carolina, to contact you and said, "Hey, what you doing?" That's a hunt. So
Duncan Graham, he's the
what I'm
head
saying?
man
This,
there. And he called me. And they were all
this,
excited to see me. They were like,
mm,
this never happens. He goes, everything that you wrote about, again, I was just telling, I didn't have a story. I was just telling genealogy. They were like,
Mm.
we're so excited. We have I mean, they sat there, that's their job as an archivist to read these letters. And as they had to write things out, they're like, this is your family. Like,
Yes.
I can do a real Alex Haley story because we know that story was fake, but it was a good story.
Well, yeah,
But
yeah.
I
A
can
good
tell a
story.
real one. It's fake.
And
Unfortunately, it
you
was a one
going
book.
to.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
done
And you
deal.
going to. Yeah, yeah. It's a
Absolutely, I
done deal.
believe it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just thank you for being so diligent in that which you have brought forward, that which you learned, the passion that came within you. You having the
Absolutely.
ability to just follow your spirit guide, listen to the
Yeah.
ancestors, follow that intuition. And that's a huge thing right now, as far as people really getting into what it is that they really love and following that intuition. Would you want
Got
to lead anybody with some information about what it would take to do what you do, as far as finding out their family tree, what it would take for someone to actually go about finding their part of their family tree?
Well, again, like I stated earlier, just starting with yourself, talking to your aunts, your elders, you're starting with your mother and your father, asking them basic information. Who's your mother? Who's your father? Who's your grandparents? No nicknames, um, you know, and go from there. You start back. Census records, and things of that nature, Freedmen bureaus, bank records. It's an enormous amount of things you can do and follow back.
Okay.
And again, you can always contact me at Our Mahogany Heritage, and we can go
Mahogany
there. I can
Heritage.
do your genealogy too.
Mahoganyheritage.com.
That's it. Our
So get
Mahogany
ready.
Heritage Cultural Museum, and we will be live in August.
We'll be live in August. Be live in August. So the next part that I really want to go into, which is near and dear to me, because being right here from South Carolina, and you bringing such an understanding of family lineage, where we came from as a family, what we're connected to as a family, why it is that we resonate where we resonate in as Waynesburg County, why Waynesburg County means so much to us versus anybody else. And so with that family lineage being laid down, when it comes back over to the Geechee Gully history, what can you share with the family on that Geechee Gully history?
Well, that is I. That is all of us. We are Gullah Geechee. We look at we
Yeah.
are a people. You heard me say, look here. We are definitely a people. It's all about preservation as it's language. But Gullah Geechee, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I don't want all the crap talk to get at me, but
Come on with it.
it's Gullah Geechee. I mean, there's so many. It's from this name. It's from this. It's from here. You never know. Gullah Geechee just a people. We do say, Geechee comes from Ogeechee River. Ogeechee comes from maybe the tribe, the Keesees. The Gullah came from the Angola. But here's the thing. Gullah Geechee today, the history starts from Wilmington, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia to Jacksonville, Florida. And it's all
Okay.
coastline. Okay. It's from the ocean 25 to 30 miles in. Okay. That is your Gullah Geechee corridor. You know, um,
Mm.
Williamsburg County, Hemingway, the famed, Scott's Barbecue, right next to his building is a Gullah Geechee corridor plaque. So we are part of that, so we're in it. We're in it.
Mm.
So it's no
I
such
didn't
thing
even
as
know
I
that.
think, oh yeah, oh yeah. The Gullah Geechee corridor plaque is there. We're a part of that. We are part of that. And what makes someone Gullah Geechee? So before I even go into that, like I said, Gullah Geechee is a people, okay? And there are different, nobody really exactly knows. Like I said, people say maybe the Gola came from Angola. It could be the Keesees. But at the end of the day, we're a people. We come from that lineage from Wilmington all the way down to Florida. Like I said, 30 miles in. But what makes us to connect, and like I said, there were Aborigines already here. We already know that. And yes, Africans were brought to this particular area. That's what makes us so different and unique than anywhere in the place anywhere in the United States. So they did come here, and the ones that were already here, and then some who were taken from the Americas, brought to the Caribbean. The Caribbeans were brought here because if you were Aborigine and you lived here, how could someone enslave you? You would know how to get out of there and where to travel to. So they had to, flip flop you. And I have all those documents too. So I do know right in our area
Mm.
in Georgetown, I have all those documents, where people were taken and brought to the Caribbean, and some of the Caribbeans were brought here. Now that's a fact.
Ooh.
That's a fact.
Mhm.
I am not going to sit there and go, I'm on Dane Calloway's bandwagon, but he kind of told the truth. They did come from Africa. That is true because the language, the things that we have and we do here, how did we get it if the people didn't come here? You know what I'm saying? It's the same. But like I said, some came from Africa to the Americas. Some of the Americans went to the Caribbean. Some of the Caribbeans, came in. So it was a whole big circle. But again,
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
particular area that we're located in Williamsburg County is very identical to, the West African areas with the waters and the
Yeah.
rice culture. And that's really what makes us very unique. So again, right there in Williamsburg County, we have about 5 rivers that go into the ocean. Um, Again, all Aborigine names, Waccamaw and the Winya and the PD and all of these body waters, the Black River, the Black Mingo River, and all these bodies of water are right there in, Williamsburg County and Georgetown County. And these areas were
Yeah.
flourishing with rice plantations. And they learned
Mhm.
this from, West Africans, and they were brought here with all of that. So you had all this bodies of water, and they built these rice plantations. And we want to know how Gullah Geechee stayed Gullah Geechee, and to this day is because of this rice and growing in these different plantations like every other mile. um they became isolated. When you're flooding, I think around April, when you're flooding these lands to grow rice needed to be submerged in water for a period of time.
Mhm. Yep.
So just as we know today, when you have water that's stagnant, you have what? Mosquitoes.
Yep.
Mosquitoes are nasty. They're pestilence and they give you
Yep.
disease. What do they give you?
Yep.
Malaria. So the Europeans, the white folks, they had to flee. They had to go inland, or they had to go like maybe to Camden, or inland, maybe different areas, but they could not be on the water because they would get it. Now we did get malaria too, but not at the numbers that they got. And I did a paper on that in my in one of my classes, in my one of my master's classes that I taken my master's. I'm getting my master's, and I did a paper on that, and I worked with specifically one or two plantations, and I looked at death records of former enslaved people
Mm.
and the planters, and I looked to see what did they die from. How different were their deaths? What was some common, deaths and so forth like that. And white people
Huh.
did die more of malaria than we did. You know, we more or less died would make sense. Pellagra, not having the nutrition, not enough food or healthy foods. That's what our deaths
Right.
were more or less. But they died of, malaria. So with that being said, being on these lands, um, being isolated, you kind of kept the same foods that you may have eaten in Africa. Of course, we were eating rice, um, their jollof, or whatever their rice they may have eaten over there. Today, I don't care how high end, how basic and low end you are. If you're in Williamsburg County, you're gonna have perlo. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're gonna have perlo.
Yeah.
You can have your mink coat on, and you can be as fancy as you want. You are going to have some perlo.
Hello.
And and or the red rice, and the red rice is comparable to the jollof rice, and so your foods are the same. We eat rice with everything. Our language, our dialect, I mean, there are some who still can speak it, but over time you may have lost the language because it was a negative connotation. Today we talk with pride. I'm Gullah Geechee. I'm Geechee so and so. I'm Gullah so and so. You hear those names, these on these websites, but 20 years ago, you
Right.
were like, that's them Charleston people over there.
Check.
You know,
Check.
you didn't want to. Um, you know, it was a negative connotation. But now that we realize that you were bilingual, you were connected with different language. I mean, you had different tribes, different people, and English, and you have Italian. I'm not Italians. Just different groups of people here. So
The
you
French.
made a language, you connected, and so your language, the music, these people came with their memory and they recreated everything on this land, and they never went off these bodies of land. I mean, right now, and outside of Myrtle Beach, there's a community called Sandy Island. You still only can get
Mm,
there by boat, right off 17, right off the main drag. People go up and down Highway 17, north and south in Myrtle Beach. But if you just scurry down this little road, and if you want to get to Sandy Island, you're only going to get there by boat. I mean, these people were left
mm.
to their demise during the Civil War. They were just left there, and they're still there.
Wow.
The Gullah Geechee, ancestors, they're still there. But yeah, what makes you Gullah Geechee is language, it's food, your music, the way you bury, all these things that we do. You know, some people say, "Oh, it's old and it's backwards." It's not old and it's not backwards. People don't realize this is a tradition that's been going on for so long. My mother was
Yes.
one of those people who, when I talked about this 20 years ago, she had her nose turned up. But every time I talk about it, I share something with her or in my class. Now, she may not say she's Gullah Geechee, but she know how to say a word. She remembers this. She know how the dances went. She talked about the ring shout. She may not call it a ring shout, but she did say yes. And our grandmother said yes. We danced in a circle. We danced all the way down.
Come on.
Everything that they do in Africa and how they dance, grandma did it. It was a
Yep.
word called akimbo. I learned that word in my anthropology class, and I started thinking akimbo. It's like a way of it's a stance, how you got like lean. And I thought
Mm.
about this thing, akimbo. I said, I remember my mother said going to the historic Chavis Church School. She said, she couldn't always go out, like the most of the kids go out on the weekends. So she said, when I would get to school on Monday and I'll be talking to my friends, I'll be just standing there kimboing. And I look to the left and I look to the right. I said, you was doing what? She goes, I was kimboing. I said, what the devil is kimboing? You put your hand in your hip to kind of lean. I said, they just talked about that in class. So, she's
Wow.
telling us stuff. She doesn't know why she's saying it. Well, she's saying it, but she doesn't know it's a loan word. She doesn't know that she's doing
Mm-hmm.
something or saying a word her ancestors said. No European is talking about a Kimbo. It's an African word. She left at
Mm.
16 and moved to New Jersey and New York, and they wanted to put her in speech class because she was bilingual.
Mm.
She was bilingual. She was talking Gullah
So
Geechee.
so so excuse me to cut your wisdom. So when she went to Jersey from South Carolina, they
Yes.
really couldn't understand what she was saying.
My
So
father
it's
said,
difficult for
I
communication.
loved your mother. She was a beautiful woman. But Tanya, I didn't know what she was saying.
Why?
God rest my father's soul. He's been gone 2 years. He said, I didn't know what she was saying. And when he married my mother, he said to his father
Mhm.
how he had met someone from South Carolina, and my father is originally from Camden, South Carolina. He said,
Oh.
my grandfather said, "Oh, you got one of them Geechee rice eating girls." So all of this came out, when I started doing my research. So that would have never
Uh-huh.
been
Uh-huh.
told. They would have never talked
Right.
about it because it was negative.
Right.
To eat rice. We
Mm.
say you
Hmm.
kimboing or to dance in a circle. Now you go to events. I just went to an event and they had the Gullah Geechee dancers out. And they're talking Gullah. They are, I remember we were young, and if there was a lightning going on, what they say, God is doing His work. You open up the windows and the doors, and let the electricity go out one door in the other. I don't. It's so much stuff, but they call it superstitious, but it is what it is. You talk about adorning the graves. I said, Mommy, did they do that? Initially, she didn't know anything. By the time 20 years was over, she knew how to adorn the grave sites, what they did. You would stop the clock when they died, to leave something on the grave,
Mm.
and so forth. But that's all what makes you Gullah Geechee. I got one more quick story. Our Uncle K,
Go
he
ahead.
took me out to the Blaine Cemetery. Again, I'm from New Jersey. I didn't know anything about being in the woods in Blaine Cemetery Memorial Day weekend. So he told me, come back to the house in about a half an hour. He brought me some tall um, water boots and a long metal pole. He said, come on. So I went. I don't know. I'm unbeknown, and I go to the Blaine Cemetery, the Black Mingle Church, and I started walking through this wooded area, and it's dark because all the trees are growing, and it's green, and it's super dark. And I hear, and he goes, I'm a dummy. I'm like, is that a snake? But I don't know. He goes, I want you to stomp 1, 2, take the long pole, you drag it. 1, 2, take the long, metal pole and you drag it. And I did. And as I'm in this dark place, I'm like, he finally tells me, these are rattlesnakes. I'm like scared as I don't know what. And he's like, calm down. He's in shorts and sneakers. Like, he's not worried about it. So he takes me out a little bit and to bring me in a little bit. But again, I say this, it's dark because the trees are growing in.
Mm.
Straight ahead of me, it was a beam of light. I can come back, show all my documents and my pictures. It was a beam of light coming down. We seen a headstone. He said, that's him right there. We were looking for our fifth generational grandfather, George Dorsey. I said,
Mm.
how do you know? He's, don't you see that beam of light coming down? He wants to be seen. And he
Mm.
started walking off. I said, Kay, what about the snakes? Oh, don't worry about the snakes. He's not going to let nothing happen to us. So I picked up my stick. I had faith and I walked through this grass. We found our fifth generational grandfather, George Dorsey, beautiful headstone. Next to it, I now know that was truly a snake den. I mean, had caved in, so it's a body. We're just,
Yeah.
I don't know, 3 steps from the river. Water moccasins all
Mm.
day. And we're down posing.
Come
And I
on.
have all these pictures. And everyone, I'm all excited telling the story. They're like, you're crazy. But I
Right.
feel the way all of this I'm saying is when God is with you, the creator, he will take you through all your ebbs and flows. Focus, stay with it. You do anything
Mm.
for like 21 days becomes a habit, but it has to be innate. It has to be what you want. And it'll happen. You'll find it. You become an expert at anything after a couple of days,
Yeah.
couple of weeks, a couple of
Yeah.
years. You become an expert and it becomes
Mm-hmm.
effortless. It's just what it is. So, all those things were great. And, I got to find him and I got to see an old, big old pot. That's kind of where I was going to go with it. And he picked up this big red pot off another cousin's grave. He goes, it's a good old pot. He said, nope, I'm going to put this pot down. Them spooks won't come to me tonight. So he didn't want any
Check.
spooks, he said, to come to him. But anyhow, that would just letting you know that the graves are still being adorned because we did find a pot out there, and it was an old slave, burial site. But I'm grateful to be to the Mill Pond and the Blaine Cemetery. Both those cemeteries are right there together, behind the old Blaine Church or the Black Mingle Church, and that is where our
Man.
forefathers are. So I'm grateful that he took me out there. So that was it.
Hey man, listen, you have dropped some juice. Everybody from Williamsburg County, when they watch this right here, now they're gonna really know who we are.
It was fun. It was
And they're
great. I
gonna understand
loved it.
right, and they gonna understand the history, of South Carolina, right there being from Hemingway, South Carolina, and this is something
Absolutely.
I'm proud to be from. You know what I mean? Because that's where I grew up. So you
We
breaking
haven't
down the
touched
history,
the
and when
surface.
you, oh yeah, 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 and I mean, if we, if you was allowed to really just speak about the history that you know from Williamsburg County, I mean, we can be up here a couple of hours. And due to you
Absolutely.
have other obligations tonight, we want to keep this short, simple. And I just
Absolutely.
appreciate all of the things that you really sharing tonight. I mean,
Absolutely.
you dropping something I didn't even know about the plaque right there on
Yes.
Bruns.
Gullah
You know what I'm saying?
Geechee
Like I didn't even
Corridor.
like
Yes.
so I got to go. I got to come home now. I'm like, let me pull up to
Absolutely.
the plaque now,
Absolutely. It'll
So
be
yeah,
on if you're on
you
the
got me on
same
that.
side as the restaurant. When you're coming out of King Street, it'll be on your right hand side, right before you get to the restaurant. The Gullah
Man,
Geechee
like I
Corridor.
mean, you
Yes,
gotta
it's there.
woo. I mean, that's fire right there. That's fire right there. And
Absolutely.
with
Absolutely.
all that being said, because you and I grew up together. We didn't always grew up understanding the culture and the history.
But you
So,
know,
excuse me, what did it mean for you reconnecting with the culture, and what did it mean in your life today?
well, actually, like I just said, spiritually, it was reconnecting. I reconnected with them literally and spiritually, but really spiritually because of that spiritual, them guiding me, it led me to
Mm-hmm.
who we were, and I got to see the culture and feel the culture and read it because, like I said, we have letters that are written about our family, what they
Mm-hmm.
did, how they fought back. Um, just their everyday lives. So, that gave me solace, to see the strength of Elvira, you know, talk to these people who we think because you were enslaved, they beat you, you were scared. She could care less. She ran away, got her break, and came back, took her little beating, quote unquote. They stated as she got up and walked away after she got beat. So it's like my mother would say, it won't hurt as long as it lasts. As long as you're getting beat, it hurt. Once it's over, she got
Mm-hmm.
up and she left. So, I've reconnected with them. I understand, people. I understand them. I understand who we are. Um, and I'm just grateful, and I'm grateful to be a part of that Gullah Geechee corridor and that heritage because there's no one like us. They don't eat the way we eat. We don't talk the way we talk. People come all over the world to be a part of Gullah Geechee. It doesn't exist anywhere else. It's
Right,
us.
right here, South Carolina,
Right
right
here.
here, South Carolina. You know what I'm saying? That Gullah Geechee. And when I really first started really getting to the Gullah Geechee, it should be amazing the accent and what they was able to speak, and you couldn't understand what they were saying. You like, what you said?
Exactly.
Say that again. And then when you really was around someone who was really from that area of Gullah Geechee that was down really by the waters, I'm from Hemingway, so I'm a little bit further inward. So, but right there by those waters, oh, that's a whole different language. It's a whole
Go to
different language coming
Georgetown.
from the church.
Yeah.
Georgetown, Charleston, all of
Go to
those
Lane
areas up,
Street. You
man.
really being Lane Street is
Lanes,
kind of rough too.
yeah.
They're a little deep over
Listen,
there.
we that Gullah Geechee is everywhere, and I think that's a part of history that has
Yes.
been omitted from South Carolina. You know what I mean? Like they'll tell you a little bit about Gullah Geechee, but it's not put on a place where it need to be put as a foundation as far as all of existence of South Carolina. If we all one people, we all the Gullah Geechee.
Yes, we are.
So the fact that we all eat the same, we all do a lot of things the same, a lot of our cultural references are the same. And for us to be so separate, that's so crazy right now. How do you see right now of those that are excited about accepting the Gullah Geechee and those who just like that ain't got nothing to do with me? Do you see a huge disparity in that?
Well, you know what? Because they don't know. Like I said, specifically my mother, I don't think she was
Hmm.
being, her nose up, but she was told that it was negative. Can
Okay.
you imagine living your life one way, doing something every day, and to leave your house, travel 12 miles, and everything you
Mm.
do, what you eat, what you think, how you speak is wrong. If that don't
Mm.
mess you up, I don't know what does. They wanted to put her in
Yeah.
remedial classes, and she was like, I'm not doing any of that stuff, and she fought it. She finished school, and that was it. But and even like today, for instance, I said earlier, we eat perlo. But now you'll hear, if you
Hmm.
look at certain things, you'll hear them say pilau. No, it's perlo. They want to connect with something other culture. That's not your culture. That's not our food. No, we're not eating jambalaya. We're eating perlo. That's what we're eating. That's what we're eating. We're eating our rice. We're having it. So that's just what it is. So, that is the disconnect, more or less, like I said, because some people still don't want to connect because it's negative or backwards. And then you have the ones who are finally learning and realizing this is who we are. We don't have to forget our answers, forget our roots. This is who we are. This is what made us who we are. This is what makes our culture.
Yeah.
People in Louisiana, they're proud to be Cajun or Creoles, and
Thank
they'll
you.
eat their foods. We scared. Now
Thank you.
maybe hog malls and all those things are not the best for us, but it's
No.
okay
No. No.
to have
Yeah.
something that it may have been not the best food, but you can still say, well, this is our food. This is our soul food. Where does soul food come from? From us. This food is everywhere in the world because of us. Because of us. Nowhere else. It's different. Every area, every state on this East Coast, they're different. Slaves in New Jersey are different from us. Slaves in Virginia, even the crops are different. You go to Virginia, eat
Yeah.
peanuts. You go to North Carolina, eating cucumbers. You know what I'm saying? The barbecue is different.
Yeah.
There's always regions are different. But like I said, once you learn your history, once it's preserved and you learn it and you appreciate it, then you can flower out. But if you don't know your
Yes.
history, and you don't
Mm.
preserve it, and someone tells you who you are, well, that's been our story forever because someone's telling you who you are. But once you
Mm.
get a taste of it and you keep digging at it and you realize it, like my mother, and I'm not throwing her under the bus because she didn't know. Somebody told her at 16 years old, everything you did from that 12-hour trip is wrong. Now she can sit up and look around. But that 16-year-old
Hmm.
old little girl who got on that train and came to New York and went into
Mm.
school, they told her everything she did that morning was wrong,
Mm.
backward, country, everything.
Wow. Beautiful. 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 I mean, you drop gems all night long on Williamsburg County.
Yes,
And
yes,
for
yes.
those who don't know, I'm from Williamsburg County. I'm from Hemingway, South Carolina. I reside now in Columbia and Lexington, South Carolina. But where my roots at is Hemingway, South Carolina. So that's always home for me. I don't never disrespect home, and I always love being home. So it's beautiful because one of the greatest thing about this moment is you, my cousin. You would always come to South Carolina, but you didn't live in South Carolina.
No,
And the history that you have of South Carolina, it over excels those who are from, like myself. I'm from South Carolina and don't have the history that you have. And so for that, I'm saying big ups and thank you that you really dug into the history of all of that and able to relay that back to us. And I remember the first time you shared that information with me, it blew my mind because I was like, what, we who?
yeah,
And it's just like wow. And then when you start looking around, you start saying that's how all of us are connected. That's why we can go so many different places and we are all connected right there from Williamsburg County. So it
Yeah.
was it was an eye opener of the history that you shared with me years ago. And so
Yeah.
when I had this opportunity, I definitely wanted to bring that Gullah Geechee history because a lot of us right here from South Carolina don't understand that history.
Oh no.
They don't really get it. You know, they'll want to be in it. They'll be African before they Gullah Geechee, and that's all one thing. You know,
It is. It
it's
is.
all one thing.
It's all one
So
thing.
with
We're all
that,
one people.
we all one thing. So with
Saltwater
that being
Geechee or
said,
saltwater Gullis, what it is.
we all one clan. You know what I'm saying? All the
That's right.
clans make a tribe. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that we don't understand. We got to understand the clans make the tribe. So with that being said, we want to go into our closing remarks. Anything that you want to leave the people with tonight? Any way of contact with you? Any type of information? Anything you want to leave with the family tonight?
Follow your first mind. Trust, follow your first mind. Don't ever deviate. Just stick with it. Anything you're trying to do, don't give up. I mean, people, you hear that all the time, but it's real. Like I said, I stuck with it. I followed, and I'm here. Our Mahogany Heritage Cultural Center. So it's going to be digital site, but I'm excited for it, and I'm excited to share everything Williamsburg County. So I'm excited, and I'm
Mm.
so grateful again for being on here with you and sharing with your listeners, and can't wait to come back.
Oh man, thank you so much. Like I said, those who listen to this right here, and especially those from Williamsburg County, they're going to be blown away. This is a true history lesson of Williamsburg County, and those who hear this right here are going to be amazing. Well, my closing remarks, y'all know what this about, man. We talk that crap. We give you information that you didn't know. We give you highlights. We give you understanding of a cult realm. We give you understanding of history and connection. This is what we do. This is what we bring. And these is all the different minds and the spirits that I have collabed together to bring you this information. And with that being said, we would like to thank you for another episode of Talk That Crap. Peace,
Talk that
power,
crap.
prosperity.
All
The
right.
haters observe and not to support, to discourage. Vision so passionate it's disturbing. Create a rise, I was positive surging. Cosmic folks to see emerges. Reign of eternal, hands on my time. Impossible prince can God watch you step in the mind. Soul triggers, power holy divine righteousness. Combined with courage, love of essence. Don't let trauma bind and block your blessings. When you behind the veil, you hear the confession. Give you limitation, corruption, fear, deception. This the age of knowing, evolution and resurrection.